Here we go. So we're recording, and today we're going to be talking about goals and mindset. And obviously, we've got the corona. Last time we did this, which was about a month ago, for those of you, I think Jan, you said that you were kind of there. For those of you that were in it, we were mainly talking about reopening because I think pretty much all of us were still closed. So now some of us are opening. I don't know, Jan, if you've opened yet.
Yes,
You have
we
opened.
are.
And we're kind of massaging this a little bit because some of the goals obviously is to get back to where we were or where we can be. Many gyms, I don't know if you guys, just let me know if you guys have the situation where you've been told by your city or your county that there's or your state, a percentage that you can have in. Many gyms we're hearing have been told that they can have 25% of fire code or whatever, which means if you can have 200 kids in at one time, the maximum is say 50. Are you guys dealing with any of that kind of stuff, with being told how many kids you can actually have in the gym?
We are and we aren't. We're just supposed to follow the CDC guidelines, but our neighboring county, I'm in the St. Louis area, and our county borders St. Louis County's border, and a lot of the St. Louis County gyms have just opened this past week, and we started the last 2 weeks of May bringing in the team and that, but in June 1st we started our summer classes.
Okay.
You
haven't been directed capacity.
No, and I have a parent who works for our health department, so he came in and we just ourselves reduced the number of kids per teacher, put all those different guidelines into act, and he came in and checked things out and was happy with the way things were going. And but I've never been told by anybody.
Right. But you have a very, you at least yourself have a very clear standard and a very clear of what you can and can't, what you're doing. Basically, you have a very clear.
Yes.
Okay. So, and the reason why I asked that is, I think it's really important for us to really grab control of the narrative as to what's going on from a gym standpoint. Our local gym that my little boy goes to, we really don't know what's going on there. They're not really communicating very well. And what we're kind of seeing a little bit is gyms that are communicating very well to the community. And remember, not just the parents that are already coming to the gym, but ones that might be thinking about it. What are you doing to effectively reach them and communicate with them? Because really your community as a whole needs to understand what's happening in your gym, right? Especially if you've had a lot of losses and numbers. It's an opportunity. I think it's actually a positive opportunity to actually get out ahead of it and actually be the market leader for the gyms, for the kids activity centers, right? Because you guys are competing against swimming, you're competing against dance, you're competing against baseball and soccer and stuff that haven't necessarily started yet, but there are parents out there for good or for bad that desperately want to get their kids doing something, right? Some parents don't really want it, but many are. And that means, you probably lost a percentage of your current market or your current customer base. We need to be able to replace that and replace it as quickly as possible. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is about what those numbers are and where you want to be, or what is potentially out there. And we're going to talk in the next 3 days after, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for that hour and a half period, is actually the mechanics of how to control that narrative and to build your own outreach to your community, right? It's critical. I don't know any businesses right now that are doing really well doing what they were doing before COVID-19 happened, right? Quite frankly, you have to take control of your narrative, and we're going to talk about how you go about that yourselves. If you want help, we're going to offer some things to help you, but at the bare minimum, you need to take care of this yourself. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult. I don't want to necessarily talk about what that difficulty would be, but it could be up to and including just becoming a dinosaur and disappearing. And for me, that would be terrible, right? I mean, for you, it'd probably be terrible too, but I just really want every gym to get through this because we can do it. We just have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what we're doing, right? So when we're going through, and let me pull this up, got all these things on my little browser here. So, you know, one of the things that we're seeing consistently, as I said before, is those gyms that are actively working to take control of the narrative in their local area are doing well, right? Let me just pull this here. Sorry about this. I should have been a little bit better organized on my. Ella, could you do me a favor? I can't find the goals and mindset presentation. I think I might have moved it in the folder.
Okay.
So, goals, mindset. This, I think this is it. Yeah. Is it?
You found it?
No. It's not. It's a bazillion. So what we'll do is I'll go through a little bit of a, while Ella's searching that out for me, I'm going to share my screen here so you can see a couple of things. And you guys might have a grasp of what this is, but it's really important for us to have a thorough understanding of it. So first up, let's have a look here. Can you see this here? If you ever want to go and have a look at it, it's a pretty basic revenue calculator for kids activity centers, mainly gymnastics, because we do most of our business with gymnastic centers. But this will go through kind of what one person is worth to you. And oftentimes, I know when I own my gym that I kind of didn't really think it through and do this calculation, but I know you can look into your iClass Pro or your Jackrabbit and see your average, and do a little bit of work on figuring out what your average lifetime is of a kid. We typically see anywhere between 1 year to 18 months. That probably doesn't sound that crazy to you, that you know, a student stays with you for about 1 year to 18 months. So we're going to use the 1 year period. Our average right now is about $85. Is that does anybody disagree, or they have a lot lower figure than $85 per month, the average child? Like, obviously some are paying more, some are paying a little bit less, but 85 we've seen across all of our client base is about the average. Thank you, Ella. And basically what that means is that one child, if they stay with you for 12 months, is worth $1,020, right? So bringing one person in is worth $1,020 to your business for over a 12-month period. And then, when we're looking at how many we want to bring in as a gym, then this would be new business, right? We're looking, if we just bring in 5 every month, that's $61,200 over a year, right? Which I'm sure most of you, $61,000, that's a reasonable amount of money, and that's just 5. If you bring in 10, obviously you're looking at 122,000. It's not unreasonable if you do things well to be bringing in, say, 20 new kids a month. It's less than 1 a day, right? If you bring 1 a day, obviously, that's how much revenue can be added to your business in a 12-month period. And when we start looking at that and realizing what one child is, and then adding, say, 1 child a day, it's tremendous, the difference. And even the bigger gym will feel $367,000. I'm sure, Jan, you would probably feel 367 additional revenue come into the business. It would be something that would be you'd be happy for. So, if you want to go to this, Ella, if you want to share that in the chat with the group, the revenue calculator, and you guys can play around with it and kind of like see what's going on. So that's a goal standpoint for an individual kid, and then obviously how many you'd want to bring in per month. If you can actually do a really, really good job, which typically the gyms that we work with, and they really get their systems down, the shift really goes from how do I get somebody, or my concern with adding or losing a kid, to how do I build a really great program. And then what tends to happen is that program starts to have a longer lifetime. So you end up having kids stay for longer than 12 months. And if you go on the high end of our averages, all of a sudden those 30 kids are $500,000. You know, you bring this down to 5 again, and you're nearly $100,000 just by bringing 5 kids, new kids, every month. So it really shows that investing in taking control of your narrative in your community, even if it just brings you 5 new kids every month, it easily pays for itself. And what my goal is, and what Creatively Disruptive's goal is to really help you guys understand that in no other time in our history have we ever had a opportunity to grow our gyms, you know, and control our narrative. 20 years ago, your options probably were, you know, coupon books, TV, local newspaper, local radio, all these different things, all of which cost a decent amount of money and have very spotty returns. I remember we did a coupon book, it cost us $200 a month, and we would typically get 1 or 2 people from it, right? Which, if you think about it, if it's 1 or 2 people, and we've got an operation like this, it's probably worth it at $200 a month. But, you know, we weren't really controlling our narrative. We'd have like a little skinny piece of paper with our gym name on it and reach out to us and 10% off. There was no real communication going on where we could control things. If we had a similar thing happen to us as what we've got going on right now with COVID, where there's loads of information that needs to be shared, there's confidence building that needs to be done, there's, you know, rebuilding the, you know, the community's idea of what's a safe place to take their kids to, and to show them that we're a safe place to take their kids to, I would have been screwed, right? Because I really had no way to effectively communicate with my community without, you know, spending thousands, which obviously none of us are in a position to be able to spend, you know, thousands and thousands across lots of different media. So with that, let's have a look here. Ella, thank you for finding that link. I'm going to pull this up. Might see what we've got in here. No, that's good. So here we go. So we're going to have a little bit of a look at the mindset and goals here. Where is this? Download. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Let's open it here. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to share the screen. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next 4 days, is definitely helping you guys get control over the narrative, because this is more than, you guys understand that this is a lot more than just advertising your business, right? We're kind of like advertising your business to help you grow and make money is obviously really important, but really a big part in us being able to do that is, in all honesty, going to be about, can you guys see this now? Yeah, Jan, can you see? Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Do you see Supercharged? So it's a lot more than just advertising and getting 5 kids in, or 10 kids, or 30 kids in, or 1 a day. A lot of it has to do with putting messages, communicating to give confidence and understanding to your local community that you're 1, you're open, and 2, that you're safe, right? We need the parents to understand that 1, you're open. We need every mom basically in your local drive-up area that's likely to come to your gym to understand that 1, you're open, and 2, that you're safe, right? And we need to control that narrative, because there's so much nonsense out there. And obviously, you know, with the riots and the protests, and, you know, the bit of the social upheaval that's happening as well, there's so many things going on, so many concerns, that we need to at least have our information out there, and we need to start educating our community that, hey, our gym is a safe place for your child, and here are the things that we're doing. And going back to what you were talking about, Jan, you've got probably a whole bunch of protocols and a whole bunch of processes that you've worked on for a few months that you've now implemented in your gym, cleaning, how, processes with parents, the reduction of class sizes, and probably a whole bunch more. Your community needs to understand it and needs to know it. And if you don't do it, you're going to lose out. It's going to just be tougher. It's going to be a longer, slower hog. So we need to be thinking our mindset is as much about how do we save ourselves, but also how do we educate our community. And I think by educating and taking care of our community, the community will respond, and we'll be able to get to that point where we're adding, maybe one kid a day. And as I showed you, if we add one child a day, because they feel, hey, here's one place, because hey, my schools are closed. Most of the swim schools are still closed. There's no baseball, there's no soccer, there's none of these activities that are going on that I'd normally have. Many of the camps that are out there are not operating. I'm a legitimately important part of the community, right? But for my parents to really engage with me and for me to maximize the numbers that potentially could come in, I need to take control over my narrative in a way that's greater than just advertising, right? So what we're going to quickly cover, and this is during the whole course. This is today, tomorrow, today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today, we're obviously talking about mindsets and goals. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about branding and messaging, making sure that we're getting the message out, making sure our websites are up to snuff, because our websites are really the focal point. So whenever you're reaching out, people are either going to go to your Facebook page and to your website or straight to your website, right? And we want to make sure that our websites are well built and put together so we can effectively communicate whenever somebody's looking into us. And we need to make sure that we have control over our messaging when we're getting the word out, and reaching out and contacting people. On Wednesday, we're going to be doing, and this is pretty heavy lifting stuff, but I really advise all of you to be there for the targeting. I really advise you to be there for all of our classes, but for targeting an audience building on Wednesday. Let me see who's that. Where is sorry. Who's playing that?
Your music?
There we go, Michelle. How's it going, Michelle? So targeting an audience, I really advise that you be there. It's going to be some heavy lifting, but it's real gold there. That is where the power of, especially Facebook, and we're going to be mainly talking about building audiences and targeting on Facebook and Instagram, where you can really get your message to the mums in your community. And Russell is actually going to go step by step through the process of making sure you build great audiences so your targeting is spot on. And in my mind, of all the things that we're going to talk about, this here is where the magic source is really where, when we're working with our clients, why we have success. If you don't have good targeting and good audiences and you're just doing boosting on your Facebook page to people within an area, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have 22-year-old guys that don't have kids that really all they're trying to do is organize the weekend for parties, and they're going to be getting your message, and we don't want them to get it. The only people we want to get your message is parents, namely mums, who are honestly thinking about what to do with their children. So, because as small business owners, none of you have the opportunity to waste any money. You can't, like some of you might be in quite large areas where you might have 100,000 people to reach. And if you're budgeting, $5 to $20 a day, 5 being the lowest, $20, 25 maybe being the highest that you need to use, you're never going to reach 100,000 if you're trying to reach them all. And the reality is only a small segment of that, and we're going to go through that in a little bit, actually need to hear it, right? So you don't want to be wasting money. Facebook and Google will take all your money and give you nothing if you allow them to. So we want to make sure that they work on our behalf. And then on Thursday, we're going to talk about when you're developing these inquiries, when you're developing people and they're reaching out to you, the best way to go about it. Now, this also talks at length about, how to, who it is that we're dealing with, what their life is like, and why we need to behave in a certain way to actually reach them. And it's based on data. So all of this stuff is based on data. It's not my opinion. It's based on what we've seen happen with many of the gyms that we work with, right? And how they've got to where they need to go and basically getting their best practices. So converting your inquiries into members is really, really important, because even if you don't do any of the above, there's probably some things that you could do to make sure that you're converting whatever interest you have right now to get a better percentage. And we'll talk about that as well. So that's the next 4 days. Obviously today we're talking about mindset and goals. We don't have Kimberly here, so this is an old one. I'm going to zip through Kimberly's. This is Kimberly Ransom. I would recommend that you go through Kimberly. Kimberly Ransom is in our group. She has a really good small business, small gym mindset of profit first. So I do recommend that you go and have a look into Kimberly Ransom. She's doing some really good stuff, and she is in the Facebook, the gymnastics marketing group on Facebook, if you're not part of it already. So this is me. I'm a former gym owner, media pro, worked in TV, radio, and publisher, and I used to own a gym with my wife. My wife is the gym expert. She's been in gymnastics for about 30 years. We're parents, and obviously I'm the husband to my wife. We've been marketing for gymnastics since about 2015, so we really understand this gym space, as well as obviously understanding what you guys have to go through, because I owned a gym myself. And we currently are working with about 60 plus gymnastics gyms, and we're supporting, I think it's getting up to 2,200 gymnastics gyms and gym professionals in the gymnastics marketing group. So if you're not in the gymnastics, you can literally type in the gymnastics marketing group, and that's on Facebook. Join that. It's going to have a lot of resources in there. Everything that we talk about here, it will be in there as well. And recently last year I spoke at several congresses, and I'll be speaking at, I guess, in the virtual National Congress this year, and I'll also be speaking at GAT. If any of you are thinking of going to GAT, GAT is actually going to have their live conference on Labor Weekend. So if you are deciding to go to that, I'll be there as well. So things to consider right now, what is your state outlining as far as reopening requirements? Make sure that you're adhering to it. And it could even go as far as, what is your city outlining? Because I know in Arizona, where I am, the state government has basically said that they're going to allow the counties and the cities to make the decisions on how they want to operate, because there's, obviously you look at Maricopa County, there's 5 million people. They're going to be deal with Corona and reopening very different to some of the very rural parts of Arizona. So I think that's why the state's not done any blanket stuff, but is leaving it to the counties. So make sure that you thoroughly understand what is required in your city, because that'll give you a good idea covering county and state. What is the mindset of your parents and your community? Try to find out what's going on out there. Definitely, if you haven't already done a survey, I would recommend that you do, say, a MailChimp survey, or was it SurveyMonkey? I think it is, Jessica, SurveyMonkey, and find out.
SurveyMonkey.
Yeah, find out where your parents are at, what their thoughts are, what are their concerns, and so forth. If you've done that and you've got a little bit of feedback of where their headspace is at, we need to be thinking about that. And it's probably very similar to the rest of the community. Be prepared to be flexible, listen to your community and parents. So, obviously once you get that out there, you guys are part of the community, be speaking to people, find out what's going on, be flexible to change. I know in Arizona, the state pretty much started opening seriously about a month ago, and now we've got a tremendous spike in cases. Now, hospitalizations and deaths have not grown, but there's 3,000 new cases a day right now. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that the testing a whole heap more than ever before in Arizona. So, but I'm also certain that there's probably some spread going on because the state has opened a lot. And I remember Jessica came out here to visit a friend and was shocked because Jessica lives in California, was shocked that everyone's running around doing their thing as normal.
Yeah, it was surprising because we were in everybody wears their masks and we're just much more cautious. So it was a little bit surprising for sure.
Exactly. So, with that, things have changed and there's definitely a little bit more fear in the community now than there was a month ago. So if you owned a gym in Arizona, you might want to change kind of some of the stuff and some of the way that you're communicating. So you need to be flexible with what's going on and to changing environments. So how can you leverage your virtual classes? How many of you actually do virtual classes or some kind of virtual connection with anybody? Like with your current kids, anybody? Jan? Kay? I can't seem to mute Kay for some reason. Kay, you there? Okay, no one. Okay.
Okay, well, I was gonna,
Yeah, go for it. Can everybody hear Kay? I'm sorry to do this, Kay, but I can't mute you for some reason, so I'm gonna do this. All right, Kay. Well, Kay I can't seem to be able to remove her or anything, so. All right, Jan, we'll just speak over it.
okay, so while we were closed, we did just some Facebook, like stretching, basic stuff like that. Nothing that they had to pay for. It was just provided through Facebook. But we did the survey through SurveyMonkey about a month ago before we opened, well, a little over a month ago. And we only had 12% of the people that were even interested in possibly doing a virtual class.
Okay.
So we just kind of dropped it at that point.
The reason why I just throw out the virtual class thing is we are seeing some gyms utilizing it as a way to reach out to the greater community. And my advice when it comes to virtual classes is you don't need to actually do everything that you do virtually, right? That you could do 1 or 2 classes, just fun classes that you can actually throw out to the community and say, hey, here's some things that you might be able to do. You could put a little bit of money behind it, and it could be a way that you can actually get the community engaging in that, hey, gymnastics is a lot of fun. And you can do a lot of that in your gym, especially now that you're open. And you might even be able to ask some of your parents that have come in if any of their daughters or sons would be interested in being part of the class. And you might do 1 or 2 classes a week, and then you use that as a little bit of a look at what we're doing, look what you can do. Dave, you've got a question?
Yeah, I was actually curious with the gyms that you work with, have you seen anyone that actually has had success with live streaming classes? Because we started them pretty early on.
Yeah.
And we took them pretty seriously. Like we had 2 instructors doing them on Zoom. We got like I think we were using Ecamm Live, so it like had some higher production quality. Like it looked nice.
Yeah.
I had 2 coaches running it. One of them was like running the class. One of them was just specifically looking at the kids, giving corrections. We even set up like a Google Classroom curriculum with like video. And so it was meant to be this like fully engaging, like virtual experience where the kids could actually learn, their skills could be tracked. They can turn in video and get them passed off and all that. And like, there has been like no interest. So I don't know if like we did something terribly wrong, or
I think it's
kind of seemed to me like parents were just like zoomed out, like they're just sick
Yeah.
of virtual classes. So have you seen anyone having success? And if so, what are they doing to like get over that hump?
Yeah, we had some, especially at the beginning, had a lot of success. I think we had a couple in New York, which actually had some pretty decent success. And when I say success, it's COVID success, right? It's like,
Yeah.
was it really success? But they had like, a few hundred kids tuning in kind of stuff. And we've got a number of photos and so forth of a screen full of kids that were kind of watching and engaged and happy to see each other and blah, blah, blah. So there was some, but there was probably an equal amount, if not more, that had a similar situation to you. They put some effort in, it didn't really quite work out. Probably one of our most successful gyms didn't have a lot of success with it either, right? And they actually did kind of similar to you. They got very professional and everything, and it kind of like didn't quite work out. What I'm saying is, you probably put a little bit of effort into that stuff, and you've got some things going. You might even have some pre-recorded classes that you used before. I'm not necessarily saying double back down into the virtual class thing. I'm more of leveraging some of the efforts that you did to put it out there, because prior to you doing that and all these classes that you probably recorded, you didn't have that content, right? You didn't have, you probably have tens of hours, maybe even hundreds of hours of gymnastics classes and so forth that you could actually put out there and actually use as part of your community outreach to kind of show, hey, we're in business. Here's some of the things that we do here, right? Just from a class standpoint. So that's really what this is more talking about. I would not be suggesting, unless we totally get locked down again, to go down this route. But I know that many of you have put a lot of time and a lot of effort already into virtual classes, and that you might have a lot of content. So it's more of talking about that. Does that make sense?
So you're just saying continue to leverage the content you've already put effort into.
Yeah, absolutely.
The interesting thing is I have like literally like 3 or 4 kids coming to every live streaming class, which is like nothing.
Right.
But I have like 75 people subscribed to it and they're paying every month. So I don't know if they're just kind of treating it as like, well, I'm willing to pay like kind of a donation and they don't really use it, or if it's kind of more like a fitness membership where they intend to use it but they don't. So you have a bunch of people paying.
But
not sure.
But are they able to access the classes? Are they able to access the classes not live? So are they able to watch the recorded classes?
We could do a better job at that, because we have live classes. We record some of them, but I haven't made like a huge database of
because I would be recording every single class that ever gets done, and my personal experience, especially now, like moving forward, if you're going to change it and maybe continue to put effort into it, is to make the classes very short and very skill specific, right? If you ever look at some of the best,
how short do you mean?
Like you talk about one skill, like, hey, here's how to do a forward roll, and it might take 5 minutes, and then that's done.
Oh, okay. Because
kids will watch it over and over and over again and go back and like pause it and rewatch it. If you look at the YouTube usages, oftentimes with instructional videos, they're watched several times by the same user, right? Because they just keep going and you going back and using it. And then you can stream, you can string a whole bunch of skills together in like a playlist of individual skills. So you might do a backward walkover, you might do a kip, you might do all sorts of different things. A kip is a little bit more difficult because you need the right equipment, but if you can break it down into skills, shorter, sharper, sweeter, they become very useful when you're actually doing community outreach as well, which is what we're kind of talking about. Because I don't think, Dave, I would not recommend at this stage to actually put lots of time and resources into virtual classes from a pure virtual class standpoint. My efforts would be more of just making sure we're communicating the cool things that are happening in the gym and educating the community as to some of the cool stuff that's happening, and that, hey, we're still a vibrant operating entity.
Okay, that makes sense. So for me, like our classes were like 45 minutes to an hour long, but we did make like probably 3 to 5 hours worth, I can't remember, but worth of like 5 to 7 minute blips of like online, like they were basically meant to be training classes, like what you're kind of describing, like training videos that were tied to a Google Classroom curriculum. Do you think that I should basically like put those out there, kind of like not intending to get money directly from them, but use them as like marketing, basically? Like,
yes, that's exactly what I'm saying here. So So,
Oh, yeah.
and you don't even need to use all of them. You might just find 5 of the best ones, right? The 5 of the best ones that really showcase how much fun, and the cool things that are going on. And, you're going to use those to basically educate your local community that you're open and that gymnastics is fun, right? Because we need a little bit of that. If you think about what's going on in society right now, all of us are a little depressed and a little bit sad. I mean, it's tough. I mean, we're dealing with COVID and we're dealing with social unrest. There's not a lot of good stuff out there. What I would suggest to gymnastics clubs is it's an opportunity for us as an industry to show that there are good things out there. That the world isn't all just about doom and gloom, that there's fun things. And especially for kids, I think kids, especially kids between the age of, say, 7 to 12, they're old enough to actually be able to pick up all of the stress. They might not be quite old enough to actually understand why and what's going on. So why don't we as a gymnastics community be a little bit of a different sound or noise that's out there, which is positive for them, right? And that is what I'd like us to be thinking about, because we have an opportunity. I truly believe as an industry, we have an opportunity to, I hate to use this term during, darker times, but we have an opportunity to take advantage of these dark times to showcase why gymnastics is a good option for families and for kids, right? And to be a power for good. And whilst there's so much noise out there that isn't so good, we might be able to cut through a little bit. And there's many parents and many people that are searching for good things right now, right? So why not put out our content that's good and helpful and growth and, positive and, when I say growth focused, helping kids be all they can be and all of that kind of stuff. Let's do that. And if we've got that virtual class stuff, let's use it. And your videos where you said you've got 3 or 4 3-hour videos or 1-hour video, go through it and maybe you can cut out individual bits and pieces. Use it as content.
Yeah, they're already about 5 to 7 minute clips, but
Yep.
I'd say total we have about 3 to 5 hours worth of it.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so you're saying to kind of use those and leverage them for marketing and just like not to make money from them directly, but just use them
Right.
as kind of like,
the longer this
yeah.
goes, the harder it's going to be to make money from them directly. But I think they're the perfect content to showcase, to people, especially to parents that maybe haven't thought about gymnastics, why gymnastics might actually be good, right? Because there's some people that wouldn't even think of gymnastics as an option for their kids because they have no understanding of what gymnastics is. I probably would have been one of those people before I met my wife, if I'm honest. I was a rugby guy. Be all about rugby, beating each other up all the time. And quite frankly, that's not really something that most parents are looking to do right now for their kids. So having different options and being able to say, oh, okay, well, hey, maybe there's a ninja class that my son can do, or blah, blah, blah. We can definitely use that to educate the community of who we're and what we're all about. So that's where the virtual class and leveraging what you've done there could go a long way.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, what does your new enrollment numbers look like? Most of you guys probably understand what your new enrollment numbers look like because you maybe have opened, so you get a sense of kind of what your enrollment numbers are. And what is your plan to get back to where you were or beyond? You have to have a plan, guys. You can't just sit there and go, I hope they come back and wait, right? Most gyms, you get found because people are searching for you, right? Are literally trying to find a gymnastics gym in their community. We need to change that. We need to get the word out that we are in existence and bring people to us. Most of us are in, industrial centers or not easy to find locations. So there's not a lot of drive-by traffic to find us. We need to change our mindset to the point of how am I going to outreach to my local community to get them to come to my organization, because they're just not going to otherwise, right? Especially where their minds are right now. So with that, are you your biggest obstacle, right? This is what I see oftentimes. And I see this, and this is going to sound like I'm beating up on gymnastics gym owners and managers, but oftentimes what we see is, gyms that totally focus on gymnastics, totally focus on the equipment that they have, and there's not a lot from a marketing and sales going on. No successful business operates without two parts of the business, right? Which is the product and service, which is your program is the product and service, but it must be joined with marketing and sales, and I would say revenue and communication. If you're not doing that, you're missing out, right? And the gyms that do a really good job of communicating with their community, not just their own parents, but their community, and they have a system of marketing and sales and revenue growth and the plan for that revenue growth, they do really well. So they just do. What also happens is the product and service tends to get better because of that revenue growth. And they're no longer concerned with where somebody is, if I change something or do something that I might lose somebody. So they're stuck in this stagnant kind of like feeling because they don't want to change anything too dramatically because they're worried about losing one parent. Because they've got a constant stream of parents coming in, they're much more willing to change things up and adjust as they feel they need to improve their program, which means it's on this this ever increasing upward spiral instead of a downward spiral, or at least at minimum a stasis. Right now, as gyms, we can't be static. We can't be in a system of stasis. We've got to be striving to do better because that's the landscape we're in. Are your goals and mindset stuck in the past, right? Again, one of the things that we used to hear, we don't hear it so much anymore, but we used to hear, well, this is how we used to do it. This is how we used to go. There was a lady that's pretty well known in gymnastics, and I respect her a lot, and I think a lot of her to this day, who once said to me, well, I owned a gym for 20 years. She sold it. But I owned a gym for 20 years, and for 20 years, my biggest source of new members were referrals. And I went from 200 kids in the early 80s to the late 90s, we were at 900 kids. And then I did the math with her, and I showed her that, okay, let's say 1980 to 1999, that's 19 years. You divide that by 700 kids, and you're looking at, what is that? Let's actually do the math. Divide that by you're looking at 36 kids of growth a year, right? Divide that by 12, that's 3 new kids a month, right? That is not rocket star growth, right? You could literally, if you put your systems together and actually use what you have at your fingertips with a little bit of investment behind it, you could actually get those 700 within a few years instead of 19 years. The other thing is, which is really important to me, and I think it's really important to you guys too, is I don't know about you, but I'm sick of not feeling in control of my destiny, right? I'm certain that you guys feel the same way, that having some control over your destiny and what's going on in your lives is important. And sitting around waiting for referrals is not control over your destiny. Those are nice things. Those happen because we do a good job and people love us. What we want, though, is we want control of our destiny. Which means we must have control over our message to our community, right? So we must change that. 20 years ago, there wasn't a thing called Facebook and Instagram. There simply wasn't. So there was no way for a small business owner to effectively communicate with the target audience in their community the way we can now for the price you can now, right? Typically, Facebook will allow you to reach about 1,000 people for about $10, right? If you can focus down on the absolute market and target market, you can reach your target audience, every single target person in your community. And most mums, like the percentage of mums, especially younger mums that have Facebook or Instagram, is through the roof. It's almost all. It's like the numbers that don't have Facebook or Instagram, many of them have both, but most of them have one or the other. There's just a small percentage that don't have anything, right? So that means you can pretty much reach every single mum, every single parent in your local community for pennies on the dollar, right? And over time, it becomes tremendously powerful, and that's never happened before. So don't get stuck in the past because it will kill you, basically. It will kill your business. don't be number one, be the only one. We have a methodology here where we want our gyms that work with us to be the only thought in the parent's mind. And that means controlling the message and constantly branding to the point that when a parent thinks, I'm going to get my child into an activity, any activity, they think of your gym. And that means constantly having your messaging out there. That means constantly having that content. And Dave, getting back to what we were talking about, you've developed a whole bunch of content. You now have a lot of content. That's why we want to leverage it. Many gyms, oftentimes when we first start working with them, have very little content. Ella Kalam, who you see on this, is a client services manager, and she'll agree that most of the time when we first start working with a gym, they don't really have much. In fact, sometimes we've got to use stock images. We can't even use images because there's really nothing for us to use. So now it's a time for us to make, as part of our gym operations, collecting some of the wonderful stories that are happening in our gym, because you guys probably, when things are running, have one really cool story to tell every single day. You're just not capturing it. You just don't know about it. There's probably one really cool story, and a really cool story is as much as today, two little girls met each other for the first time, and that could be a lifetime friendship. You guys know how many girls meet each other, and boys meet each other in our gyms, and they graduate high school, they go to college, and they build lifelong friendships. You might have had a moment in your gym today where two little people found each other for the first time, and they will know each other into their 60s, right? That's a pretty special moment. And if we can start capturing those moments and understanding, hey, these two people, this was the day that Jesse and Sarah became friends. And then you can promote to local community, friendship is made in our gym, right? You might have a 3 or 4 year old that finally learns how to do a forward roll and breaks through a little bit of confidence in themselves that allows them to become an astronaut. Who knows? That kind of stuff happens in gymnastics all the time. That's why you guys are special, I believe, more special than almost any other sport that's out there, because it's not about, as Jeff Lula says, and did an interview with Jeff. Jeff Lula says it's not about the skills. It's not about being an Olympian or winning gold medals. Gymnastics builds character and people, right? So all these little things that are going on in your gym, capture them if you can. Make it part of your business. Have one person in your. I would suggest, instead of hiring an internal person that has to learn how to do Facebook and Instagram, that you hire an internal person to capture the special moments, right? Because that is magic, right? You can always hire a company like ourselves, or there's other companies out there to actually, or outside contractors to do the building of the ads and the putting things if you don't want to do it yourself. But what the real magic is that no one can do is the capturing of those wonderful stories. And those stories are tremendous when they get out to the community, right? I've got a little 2.5-year-old. He's almost 3. Well, 2 3/4-year-old. So he's almost 3. He just started doing forward rolls. He's now doing forward rolls everywhere. He does forward rolls into the pool, does them off the couch. He's doing them all over the place. He does them, in bed. It's crazy, what he's doing. And he learned that in a gym, right? And he's now got tremendous confidence because of it. And if I see, as a parent, if I see another parent's kid of about the same age doing some cool things or learning something for the first time, that's going to be very compelling to me if I see it on my Instagram and Facebook. And that's what I really want you guys. I want to challenge you to start finding those things. And what our goal is to not be the number one gym in our local community. We want to be the only thought when it comes to kids activity. That means we're out competing soccer, baseball, basketball, volleyball, all the other sports that are out there, dance, cheer, blah, blah, blah. We can out-compete them all by being out there. Because here's one thing that's absolutely true. No one does a good job in the kids activity center business. If you start doing a really good job in your community, you will, over time, probably not a lot of time, become the first thought in parents' minds. Because most of your competition is doing a pretty bad job. So here's a calculation that I want you guys to go through. This is going to help us figure out kind of what just broadly you have as an opportunity out there, right? So first up, what is your total local population? I might do this, you know, Jan or Dave, who wants to be the guinea pig? Who wants to be my guinea pig? Dave, you're going to be, you want to be the guinea pig? Okay. So you're going to have to unmute yourself, sir. So in your local area, what is your local population?
Let's see. You mean by like just the zip codes we usually get students from?
Just broadly, you don't have to be exact, but what is your local population that you think would be your drive up market?
Hold on. Where is I'm cheating. 50,000.
50,000, right? So if you have a look at 50,000 times that by 15%, 15% is a very conservative guesstimate of how many of that 50,000 are children, right? So the numbers are typically anywhere between, say, 14 and 17.5%. So we've chosen 15 to make it a little bit more conservative. So it's at 50,000, you're looking at 7,500 potential children within your drive up market that could potentially come to your business, right?
Okay.
So with that, we've got, you know, that 7,500. The goal would be at minimum to get 10% of them to join your gym. So pre-COVID, where were you at from a numbers in the gym?
Let's see. We were including everyone, like team and rec and all.
Yep.
Like 500.
Right. So you'd probably be able to, your market, and this is obviously really conservative numbers because some numbers are higher. You might find that you got slightly more than 50,000, blah, blah, blah.
Well, in 50,000, it's probably higher than that because that's just my main city, so it's not the surrounding cities.
Okay. But
so I mean, you're probably like
yeah,
better than that.
I mean, my point is that these are conservative numbers, right? The numbers
Sure.
might be larger. So your healthy membership goal should be about 750, right? You should be able to get there if you're doing the right things and reaching out to your community, and your community actually understand and know who you are. And it takes time, but you should be at about 750. If ducks line up and everything starts going and the moon is in the right sphere of the hemisphere and all of that kind of jazz, maybe you can get to 1,000, right? Or more, right? But 750 should be our minimum goal. And Jan, if you went through the same kind of like thing, maybe we'll do it with you as well. What is your local population?
Well, I was just looking up for my zip code is 88.
88,000 or 88 people?
88,000.
88,000. I was going to say that's going to be lower numbers, but let's have a look at this. So we're going to go, you're looking at about 13,000.
Yeah.
13,000.
Now, within that zip code, there's several other gymnastic facilities, though.
That's fine. I don't care about
Okay.
other gymnastics facilities because most of them are doing a really bad job at marketing themselves.
Unless
really
they're
don't care.
using you.
If you guys do a really good job, you know, the world is your oyster in my mind. And sure, I love that you might say if you're using you, I love that you said that, but these are things we're going to show you that you literally can do yourselves.
Okay.
Most gyms.
Well, no, I meant like if the other facility's using you.
Right. Well, you know, I don't know. We'll have in St. Louis.
Gotcha.
We might be able to tell you. So we're looking at 13,200 kids as your population. So your maximum, you know, not maximum, but your healthy membership goal could be about 1,300, which is a pretty decent number, right? It's 1,300 at $85 a month is, you know, 1,300 times.
Now, if the facility really can't take that many kids, though, what you are telling me is that I should be maxed out easily.
Yes. Or if your facility can't do it, at some point when you do max out your facility, is look for a larger facility, especially one that you can own. Right? So, but basically your market should be able to bear, you know, 1,300 kids. right? Regardless of what your actual gym can bear, your market can bear 1,300 kids. You know, and if you actually had 1,300 kids at $85, that would be $110,000 a month, right? Which is a decent income. So with that, some things to remember. You are competing against all activity offerings, right? So, you know, as you guys know, especially as you get in larger populations, Jan, you spoke that you have multiple gyms, but you probably also have multiple dance schools. You probably have swim schools. You probably have lots of other sports.
Cheer.
Yeah, and lots of other just activities that kids can get involved with. The cold hard fact is even to this day, most of those people are doing a bad job. Most of those organizations do a bad job. AYSO Soccer does a pretty bad job marketing themselves, right? Pretty much most parents, when they want to get their kids involved with something, have to do a lot of research to figure out what there is to do. Not only do they have to do a lot of research, it's not always clear what's the best place to go to, right?
As a parent, that's really true. I just had to do a ton of searching to find out what summer camps were available here in California, in San Diego for my kids. Because my kids are.
Jessica's in San Diego. They have very bad internet connection in San Diego. Oh, anyway,
From
I think
LA
Jessica,
area and not here. So a lot of people are not doing a good job. So that's a true statement right there.
yeah. And sorry, Jessica, your internet connection's really bad. You broke up really bad, but I think we got the gist.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
That's all right. But we've got basically, in a nutshell, your competition's not doing a good job. You might not be doing a good job. You have an opportunity, right? And it doesn't necessarily cost the world, right? It doesn't need to cost you an arm and a leg. Most of them are doing a poor job promoting themselves, and tenure matters online. So I don't know if many of you know this. Yeah, we actually have a complaint right now that came in regarding a website that we built recently for, and she's wondering why she's not ranking really high when it comes to gymnastics. Well, the reality is tenure matters. They're a brand new gym. They've only just been open for about 6 months. And it's a brand new website that's never been up with a brand new URL. A lot of her competitors already have websites, already have other things up, so she's not ranking really highly compared to them. And that's because tenure matters, right? So, and what tenure really matters, especially with Google, is if you do a really good job, you're going to, if you have a well-built website with lots of, with lots of good content on it, with lots of, with maybe even some blog posts, and it's dynamically changing, and you stay there and you're one of the first people to do it correctly, and you have, you're doing things well, Google is going to push you up the rankings, and then it will be very difficult for anybody to challenge you, especially over time, right? What tends to happen is if somebody goes, you know what? Oh, wow, Dave's gym's doing really well. I need to lift my game up. If they decide to do it a year after you started doing it, Dave, and you've kept your quality really high, they'll almost never be able to catch you up because they might be doing exactly the same as you, but because you've been doing it a year longer, you're always going to rank higher, right? And Facebook's the same way. And the reason why they do that is they're like, okay, well, if a business has been doing a good thing for longer, they must be a much more established, a much better organization. We're going to rank them higher. We're going to give them some bonuses. Facebook is the same, right? So, if you are running really good ad campaigns and really good social media and you're getting lots of engagement, lots of good things going on, Facebook is going to make it much more easy for you to reach the community because you've proven to them that you have a much better offering as far as your technical know-how from what you're putting out there on your platforms. So once you actually start doing this and you're one of the first in your community, it's very difficult for your competition to come in. I often hear many times gyms join working with us, and I know Al has dealt with a couple of these clients where they come to us and they go, oh, I need your help because a new gym just opened and they're taking all my customers. And if they had been on top of this prior, like let's say they got to, started working with us 2 years before that new gym opened, that really would not happen. They would have such a tight control over the local community because they've been doing it for doing it well for 2 years. That new gym or that new enterprise that came in that's competing with them, even if they did everything perfectly, they can never beat the fact that they'd but you'd been doing it for 2 years already, right? So just remember, tenure really matters online, which means if you're not doing it now, do it now, and you'll build in a competitive advantage that's very, very, very difficult to overcome outside of you dropping the ball and actually not doing a good job, right? So what's next? Next week, we're going to be talking, sorry, let's go back because I haven't quite finished here. So in all honesty, what I really want you guys to be looking at, especially over the next 3 days, is I want you to be heavily thinking about how do I want to control the narrative and the message to my community. This is more than just advertising to grow and make money, right? This is literally how to rebuild the strength in my business. So COVID, social unrest, governors, presidents, whatever, can't take it from me, right? The My Local community knows my business inside and out, and it has a very, very positive brand and a very positive outlook from my community. On top of that, right now, I would really suggest that, we spoke, Jan, about your processes and all the new things that you're doing to keep parents safe and kids safe, that we actually talk about that when we build our community outreach program, when we build out our way of communicating to our community and we start reaching all those mums in our local community, that we start educating them on all the new processes that we're doing so they know how safe their kids are, how safe their family is, how safe their grandma is, right? Because ultimately, we all know that most of us that are younger and healthier, we're doing this for our elderly, members of our family to a large degree because they're the most at risk. So, we've got to get that word out of all the different things that you're doing. There's a couple of gyms that have done a really good job of videoing, this is the process. So when your child comes in, this is the process. When you come in, this is the process. And are educating their community as to what to expect and how they're being protected whilst still enjoying the gym and getting something out of it for their kids, which many parents are desperately trying to find, right? Parents are really trying to figure out what options that they have because they have so few, and they want to feel confident that you guys are on top of things and are making things happen. Did you want to say something, Jess?
Yeah, can you hear me okay, or am I breaking out?
You're good.
Okay, so yeah, I wanted to just piggyback on what I was saying earlier about looking for a summer camp for my kids. And I found a camp, and what I loved is that after I searched and finally found something that was open, their website was really detailed on what they're doing and to take precautions. So I didn't have to call and have this big lengthy conversation. Everything was very clear and laid out. And I really appreciated that as a parent, to be able to see, the actions and what they're taking and what the expectations are, so I can educate my kids prior to entering. So I just think that's really important as well.
It's not enough to just put it on your website. You've got to outreach, right? You've got to get your systems running. And I would recommend that you use Facebook and Instagram to at least have low-level campaigns running constantly, educating your parents. And remember, I said to you that it's about $10 for 1,000 parents. If you've really laser targeted and done a good job building your audience, which is what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, there might be, if you look at this population, let's say using Dave's numbers of 50,000, there's 7,500 kids. Let's say that it's about 7,500 parents, because about 2 kids per couple. So let's say there's 7,500 parents. If it costs $10 to reach 1,000, it's going to cost you about $75 to reach all of those parents, right? Now, that doesn't mean that they've been reached and they're reading it and they've gone through it. It's being served up to them. So if we can be spending, let's say $75 a week, you're serving up to every single one of those parents once a week, 4 times a month, that's, 50, I'm losing. Why do I not know how many weeks there are in a year? 50 something times
52.
52 weeks.
my brain just dropped off the face of the earth. 52, you're reaching those parents 52 times a year, right? They say that between 11 to 20 times that someone sees something, it starts becoming top of mind to them. If you want to be more aggressive, maybe spend 150 a week, right? That's 600 a month. You're going to reach those parents twice a week. And then very quickly you start building this, they start knowing you. They start hearing about you all the time. They start looking at you. You start being relevant. It's important that you have, that you're changing up the content so it doesn't become stale to them. So they start like zoning you out. But if you're constantly in their face, sharing the great stories that you're doing, sharing the reasons why they should have confidence in you because you're doing these certain things to protect them from COVID, that you're sharing some of the classes that you have, Dave, that you're sharing all the different things that you have. That's why content is important. That's why I say to you, if you're going to invest in marketing internally, invest in somebody walking around in your gym, taking photos and recording the stories of what's going on, even if it's just writing the stories down. So you might have a blog part of your website where you're talking about some of the cool things that have happened in your gym. So when somebody's searching on Google, you become top because you've got some good internal SEO, meaning you've got some blogs that people can read, and Google loves that, right? So you start capturing all of that stuff. So you start controlling the narrative that you guys are the premier and only thought, not just the first thought, the only thought in those 7,500 parents in your local community. So when they're ready, and you'll end up reaching, say, new mums. By the time their little ones turn 3, their first thought is going to be your gym, right? I want my kid to do something. What better sport than gymnastics, say kinder gym, for a little kid to start getting their motor skills going and get their confidence happening? Gymnastics is just, it can be a conveyor belt, right? And that's what we're talking about here is building out your ability to reach your community. It's not just about the sales. The sales are a beautiful byproduct of doing this really well, right? Having 1,300 kids, Jan, and building a slightly bigger gym so you can house 1,300 kids that you own is a beautiful byproduct of your community thoroughly understanding what you're up to, thoroughly understanding the benefits that you offer, and thoroughly understanding that you're a happening part of the community that's very positive, right? And that's what I really want you guys to be thinking about, especially tomorrow is more technical, Thursday is more technical, and Wednesday is more technical, and Thursday is a little bit more technical too, talking about structures and how you do it. So today is about mindset. Today is about goals. So right now you should have your goals. Alice should have shared with you the link to the, for you to be able to look at the, how much is one child worth, or how much is a number of them being signed up a month worth. When you look at this, you can look at what your local population, and these numbers are very basic, somewhat conservative numbers, right? If you, based on building out a really good system of communicating with your community. And we've seen this happen time and time again. And that's what we're going to be talking about the next 3 days. So if you've been on this one, then you might have been like, gosh, it was a lot of talk from that guy, Andy. Tomorrow is going to be Hannah. I'll be here as well, but Hannah is going to be running it. She is our production manager, talking about messaging and branding. So talking about what are good ways and how to get the message out to people. Then on Wednesday, it's going to be pretty heavy duty stuff, but it's going to be full of gold, basically, of my partner talking about audiences and targeting, and how to target exactly the right person. So you're not targeting the 22-year-old guy who just wants to go and get drunk on Saturday, right? Because he's not going to buy from you. And then on Thursday, it'll be back to me and Jessica talking about how to turn your interest into actually people doing business with you. So that's that. Do you guys have any questions? If you don't, and you aren't already part of the gymnastics marketing group, please join. It's free. And there's loads of information. Our marketing, the way we market ourselves, guys, is we give you a ton of help, knowing that Jan is so busy that she probably can't do it all by herself, and then maybe she'll become a client of ours. But we're going to give you every little bit of information that you need to do it yourselves. There's nothing held back. Dave? Nope, you're muted, sir. I'll unmute you. Here you go.
Got it. Okay. So I was curious with social media, do you get any distance out of Twitter, or is it basically Facebook and Instagram?
We don't use Twitter at all.
Okay.
And mainly we use Facebook and Instagram because we found that that's the low-hanging fruit. That's where most of the mums are. Twitter, personally, I find Twitter to be a marsh pit of hate and anger.
I was going to say, I've been told it's kind of a dumpster fire, so I was just curious if that's
yeah, no,
or not.
And if I'm honest with you guys, if we found that Twitter was the best place to convert interest, I would probably say, hey, yeah, this is what we do with Twitter. But we haven't seen Twitter as a very useful. They have a very basic advertising engine. Facebook is just Facebook is the equivalent of, I don't know, just the most advanced alien type science compared to my ability to hang a door on a wall or whatever, right? That you put a door on it, and build something. So Twitter is really
Not your best analogy.
Yeah, that was a terrible analogy. Basically,
okay.
Twitter sucks. Facebook and Instagram's great when it comes to making money for yourselves. But I definitely want all of you, if you're not part of it, to join the gymnastics marketing group. My team, and there's 14 of us, are in there. If you have questions, you can ask questions and we will help you. Our mission is to help the gymnastics community do well. And it was always the mission. And now that you guys are in need, then we're kind of like muscling up to do that. Like I said, our payoff is if Jan or Dave, you don't want to do it yourself, or you can't be bothered for hiring somebody. And you can always ask us to do it and we'll do it. We've got the Gymnastics Marketing Academy. So everything that we teach in a very granular way is in the Gymnastics Marketing Academy. And you can go and sign up for $0 if you don't want to give a donation. We're giving access for a donation. So if you go to the Gymnastics Marketing Academy, is it gymnasticsmarketingacademy.com, Ella?
I just put it in the chat, so if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah, if you want to go to that, it's basically 70 odd different classes doing all the step-by-step. This is how to schedule a post. This is how to build this. This is how to do this. So it's the whole breakdown of how to actually build out everything that we ever talk about in a very granular way. And we're constantly upgrading this and constantly updoing it. And it's a one-time sign up. So if you sign up for $0, you'll never have to pay again. And we're going to keep it at this until the gymnastics community gets through this and we get out of COVID. We're going to stay in this situation because we do believe it's important for you guys to have access to this information to get you through it. If you want to donate, feel free to. It helps us keep our lights on as well. I think we've got 500 or 600 gyms that have joined over the last couple of months. So if you haven't done that, I recommend doing that. And then finally, you can work with us. We're actually offering a reopen the gym campaign, which is actually starting to move into a get you back on your feet campaign. And you can reach out to us as well. I think Ella's going to probably post in there the link to that as well. And we'll actually with that, we actually build out all of the bits and pieces that you need, and then you operate it after the first month. So it's a one-off cost. We build it all out, and then you just run it from there, right? And that's it. So do you guys have any other questions before I let you all go? I think I've kept my time pretty well. Has it been about an hour and 20 minutes? I've bloviated a little bit. So with that, guys, see you all tomorrow at the same time. It's going to be Hannah, our production director, talking about the branding and messaging and some of the nuts and bolts of having a website well put together and the message well put together. But I want you to go away and think about some of the numbers, the possible amount of kids and parents that are in your local community. And I want you to be thinking about how much an individual child is worth. And I want you to really have a heart-to-heart and deep dive, being very honest in how well and professional your communication is to your community. Because if you get that done right, it's going to be a tremendous strength for you, right? So let's do it now because we really need to. Even when we get out of this and the economy starts to come back, it's going to be a tremendous asset to you, right? So that's it, guys. If you don't have anything else, I am going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to stop recording.